Hey, how you guys doing? We're kind of waiting on the other guys to join us here.
We're getting ready to stream the streaming on YouTube. So we're live on Facebook now. You can hear me under the music. There we are. We are live.
Oh no, what's going on with this thing here?
Jesse just blew up the laptop, but
Hey, how's everybody doing this morning? Thank you for joining us. Welcome.
welcome.
My name is Jesse Almanza, Gulf War veteran, and also Gunnery Sergeant, United States Marine Corps retired. I don't know how that one slipped in, but it did.
One of these days, he'll get his own information correct. I'm Charles Prentice, United States Air Force disabled veteran.
Yeah. Yep. So I hope everyone's doing well this morning. I just want to once again welcome. We have a continuation of what we started off about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago regarding services that the Veterans Administration provides for us. And we started off with the big one, the bigger one, which was the Healthcare Administration, which was the
Which is what?
HCB Healthcare.
The VA healthcare. It's the VA healthcare.
VA healthcare.
That works for me.
Yeah.
That's the largest head on the three-headed beast.
Okay, three-headed beast. And then we jumped into last week. We jumped into the benefits part.
Right.
The money section. So when you're talking health, you're talking healthcare section. When you're talking money, you're talking benefits section. All the money.
Right.
That's everything. That's compensation and education and so on and so on.
And this week we're getting into the inevitable.
Yeah, we're getting into the inevitable. Unfortunately, this is all. What we must know and what we do know and we understand is that once we get into the system itself, once we become veterans, each and every one of us are going to be probably diving into every one of these sections of the Veterans Administration.
Well, first you got to get your foot in the door and get into the system.
Right. Well, not necessarily.
So all you non-system people get into the system.
But you don't really have to be in the system to pursue any of these other benefits. Right. Well, it's better to get in the system, 100% better.
Well, but if we're going to hit all three, you got to get into the system to be able to hit all three.
Otherwise,
you might just do two, but we want you to do all three.
Yeah. So the last one, the last head of the three-headed monster here is the National Cemetery Administration. National Cemetery Administration is a big force, which is a small force, but it's the tail end of everything that we do as we move on through life, because those are the ones that are responsible to provide us our burial space, our final resting place, for when we're ready to go or to move on, end of watch and so on and so on. There is an administration out there, a part of the Veterans Administration that provides us services. And we want to make sure that if you haven't really looked into this, to maybe start looking into it now, because nothing better than to prepare and plan for things that you don't want to be the inevitable, but it is going to happen. It's gonna happen. We're gonna have an end of life, and we're gonna, things get so complicated and convoluted to the point to where it's confusing. And what do I do now? Who do I talk to? Where do I go? Those kind of things. But some of these things that we're going to talk about is just to kind of run you through the process that the National Cemetery Administration has for you to do, because first and foremost, not only does this benefit the veteran, but it also benefits the surviving spouse.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, it could benefit some other family members that are still living there, that that is very unresearched area in a lot of our lives that we don't really look at as far as burial spots. Because your wife can be buried with you even when you go. when you check out, and
just not in the same coffin.
unfortunately, no, not in the same coffin. No,
you want a little bit of separation.
No separation. Yeah, side by side, in a boxer and a canister.
Now, if you really love your wife, then it's
yeah,
it's two different plots.
Yeah, we want to be sensitive about this, but we need you to understand is that this step is going to happen somewhere along the line, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you and even family members or even relatives and friends to kind of have an idea of, all right, well, I'm going to help my sister out because her husband passed, and because my sister's a wreck right now and she doesn't know what to do. And then that way you can go in there, and with this information we provide, you at least know where to start.
Right.
You at least know what you're going to be doing and stuff, and so on and so on. The mission role of the NCA is basically to manage all the burial sites that are associated or affiliated with all of the national cemeteries and even tribal veteran cemeteries as well too. For the tribal
157 folks. Managed national cemeteries.
Yeah, so it's a big
125 VA grant funded state, territory, or tribal veteran cemeteries.
So one of the reasons why we want to bring this up is because we don't have a tendency of kind of looking into where we're going to be buried at, because we're still here, and it doesn't phase us at this point in time. But where are you at? What location, what state, what country are you currently right now? Because that has a lot to do with what you want to do for your final stay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in North Carolina, but I want to be buried in Texas when I go. So I've made arrangements I have filed my forms already. I call it getting permission to be buried, but it's really a form that you file. It's called a pre-eligible form, to where you can be authorized immediately. So I already know I'm going to go to Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio, Texas. That's where my final resting place is at. And I'm taking my wife with me, and
whether she wants to or not.
Yeah. And you know what? The good thing about this is to know is that yes, your wife can be buried with you. Why is it important to know this? Well, number one, if you can go back and think about how much it costs to bury somebody, to the cost associated with the opening, closing of the sites and all that, and the casket, the coffin, the stone, and all these things that are associated with burial expenses. We don't know where people are at that time when that happens. You may not be able to afford that, but because you are able to do that through the benefits of being a veteran and stuff, this is another big thing that sometimes veterans don't really look at, that they can help with the family matters ahead of time, because it won't be as expensive as you think it may be, especially when you're able to combine, the wife and the husband, and potentially even a child, depending on the child's age and stuff. And here's the thing is that if your spouse happens to pass before you do, Charles, if she happens to pass before you do, because of the simple nature that you both can be buried in the National Cemetery, she can be buried at the National Cemetery first before you even arrive, before you even go. So you don't have to go away first and then wait for the spouse to go and all that. It's really something to look at, because if I'm over here as a veteran and my spouse, something happens, Lord forbid, I don't ever want anything to happen to her. My God, what would I do? But if it did happen, then I would know that I have a resting place for her already set aside. It's already set. We already know where she's going to. We don't have to worry about last minute things, and I'll just catch up to her when my time comes and stuff. There's a lot of benefits associated with those things, with this service right here.
Mine is because of having family. That is, my parents are already prepared to be up there in the mountains. My brother-in-law, who was Air Force that passed, he is already there. I called him my little brother, but he's my best friend. His father served, and his father passed, and is located outside of Goldsboro in one of the national cemeteries there. And mine is more than likely, we're still in debate between either Salisbury or up in the mountains, with where my sister will also be interred along when
Yeah.
her time comes, alongside
Right.
her husband. Um, and mine is my parents want to be cremated, but they have the
Right.
places for the urns up there, so you don't have to carry somebody's urn around with you there
Right.
if you want to be cremated. My joke has always been, I wanted to be shot out of a cannon into the woods. The animals have to eat, and I was told that no, you can't do that because there are rules and
Yeah. Yeah. There's
regulations. So
environmental
yeah,
rules. Yeah.
and
Of
so I
course.
said, well, if I'm cremated, you can shoot me out of a cannon into the
Yeah.
woods.
It'll be a blast. But yeah, I mean, all kidding aside, it is something to kind of look at. I mean,
Mhm.
it is something to kind of consider. I mean, we may make a little remark about where we want to go and stuff, and seriously talking, it's something. This channel right here is for every all military veteran family to really kind of come to grips with what is out there that you may not know of, that might be might coming or it's already there, or you don't know what to do. And we want to bring that across to you for awareness. We want to
That's right.
plant that seed to where if it happens a year or so from now, you already have an idea of what direction to go
All
to
right.
and stuff. And that's the purpose of this whole thing. Is it's nothing that we really want to talk about, but somebody's got to talk about it. Somebody's got to bring it up and stuff, because of the simple fact that there's many associated benefits to it as well.
Right. And, and,
That
and what you're looking at is, um, how many times do you have stuff where people have waited till the last minute, and
oh
now
gosh,
and now you're in a rush. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
one of the fortunate things was, even though it was sudden that my brother-in-law passed, um, he and my sister had already discussed all that stuff and had started preparation, for it, even though we're still young, but they were looking at, okay, well, we have children who are now out of the house. We don't want it left to them to have to take care of everything.
right,
And so they had started their preparation, and it was a good thing. It was sad in the fact that we lost him at a young age, but it was a good thing that they had
right,
already started that preparation, and they knew basically, the locations. They had already talked to, where they had lived at funeral homes. Um, some of the things changed after the start of their process, was because they were moving from, being in Goldsboro, North Carolina, up into the mountains,
yeah,
and that was their plan, together, that they were going to move up there, and their daughters were already up there, so they were already
right,
planning. And so the good thing is, because it is Veterans Administration and they're all tied in together, it's
right,
not jumping through hoops. Say you are in a civilian cemetery that you've already planned and you've already gotten a plot, and now you turn around and, well, your family has decided that they're moving to, another location, and there's what do you do with that? Now
right,
you've had this plot. Well, my parents, we did the same thing with them. They had already prepared. They were living in Goldsboro, and they were planning on being interred, um, their urns in Goldsboro. But since they've moved up to the mountains with my sister, they're now, they transferred all the stuff over through the VA, and they're
yeah.
registered and set to be interred in the one up at the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to what Charles is talking about and stuff. I can relate to it. My wife and I originally had a plot set up in Iowa. What the heck am I going to do in Iowa? So
Grow
I'm
corn.
like, you know what? We're gonna change directions here and stuff, because plans do change. Things do happen, and you kind
Mhm.
of realize at a certain time in life that this is what I'm set in stone with, and that's the direction I'm going to, and that's where I'm going to go. So right, you're right. Things, you don't know at the tail end where it's going to happen, but this is more like we're letting you know that this service is available. And the biggest barrier benefits for this service here is that uh, certain family members may be buried at VA national cemeteries as well at no cost.
Hmm.
You know, what we talk about, what we tell you, we highly recommend that you do research on it
Yeah.
as well, because the research sometimes is only as good as 2 or 3 years when things start changing,
Right.
and all of a sudden policy has changed and this has changed, and we want you to open up the book and we want you to get into the internet and kind of do some searching on all that, because and always search for the most current information, because as we mentioned last week, there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's 2 or 3 or 4 years old that it may have changed already. What
Right.
we're telling you right now is current research that we've done. So we know as of today, what we're telling you, we're pretty much on target with that. So,
Plus, one of the other things you're looking at is Jesse and his family are different than me and my family.
yeah,
So what may pertain to Jesse may not pertain to me
right.
when it comes to the veteran benefits, when it comes to the cemetery benefits, when it comes to those burial benefits. What may pertain to me might not pertain to him. So
Yeah,
you, with each individual, you know your family, your service or whoever it is that had the service connection, um, and
especially.
so you know them, and so you know the ins and outs. That's like we did with, of course, my sister had to do with her husband. Both her and him served, but my parents getting their stuff set up. My sister is turned over and has helped when they moved everything to get everything changed and to get everything set up, and it changes, and it changes with the times and whoever's in charge of the VA system. They,
Yeah. It always. I would need to let you know too that what the research that I've done on this is that as I go through and look at the cost of this, and it tells me certain areas right here where it's at no cost.
mhm,
You have to expect that it's somewhere along the line there might be a little bit of cost over
right,
there. So, at no cost meaning that the big ticket items that normally would cost you a lot of money, the opening of the grave, the clothing, the ceremony itself, the location, the plot, that's of no cost, of course, but there's other things that might come up that you may have to be responsible for. And
right,
that's the other reason why we say look at it ahead of time
mhm,
to make sure you have everything all planned out and ready to go and stuff. The burial benefits include the burial flag, of course, for the veteran, the headstone or the marker,
mhm,
whichever comes in. I'm not quite sure when they talk about a medallion. I'm not quite sure what a medallion is on something that the VA will help with, and you even get a citation from the President of the United States for your faithful and truthful service for your country and stuff. That's something that's given to you by our president and stuff. And
so that means depending on if you do or do not like the current
it
president at the
doesn't
time,
matter.
you have
It
to
doesn't
you have to
matter.
try to
Yeah.
wait to die under a president
No,
that you
Charles,
like.
that's not what that
So
means, Charles.
so his name is on there. No,
No.
because my sister, when she got out, the person who's on her certificate when
Well, it
she's
doesn't
like,
matter, Charles.
it bothers her to see that name on. Well, I guess after you've passed, it doesn't matter whose name is on your.
It's never about politics when you're gone. Trust me. So, Charles, no, that's not a good thing there. But
Yeah, just
you
make
don't
sure
have to wait.
with that being the case is you want to make sure that you know Jesus Christ
That's
because
right.
you want His name
That's right.
and
Well, his
your name
name's
written in the Lamb's Book of
yeah.
Life.
God is good. God is good. Yeah, and burial allowances, some sort of allowances that'll cover some of the cost as well too. So there's a lot of things that the National Burial, or what is it, the NCA,
NC, yep,
the NCA
Cemetery.
National Cemetery Administration can
Yep.
provide for you and stuff. Um, there are, like we mentioned earlier, Charles said that there's 157 cemeteries that they manage and control, including probably some older cemeteries, but from
Hmm.
back in the Civil War and stuff. And I'm not sure how active those are, or if you can even be buried in them. I'm not quite sure. That's something that we had asked that you go and do some research on and stuff. But The traditional big gigantic cemeteries, Arlington cemeteries,
Right.
cemeteries in your state. We have one out here in Salisbury.
Hmm.
We have one in Texas. We have several big national cemeteries
Hmm.
that if you want to make that your final resting place and stuff, you can actually submit a form ahead of time. Even I mean, you can submit a form and say, "Hey, I need a pre-need eligibility burial certificate or
Hmm.
something," and if you know where you're going to or where you want to go, uh, you can go ahead and submit a form, and you can say, "Hey, here's my form." The form is VA form 410007. That's VA form 410007. Pull that out, download that. Some of these forms are pre-filled out to where all you got to do is fill them out right there online, take them out, print them, sign them if you have to, and they'll tell you where to send them to,
Hmm.
and it'll go through the process, and then you'll get a certificate back. I know because I did it already. I have my letter. I know where I'm going to, and I'm already pretty much set in that place and stuff. So I don't have to be jumping through hoops and sending the letter the day something happens, or my wife or my brothers or whomever taking care of my stuff has to go through all that because it's already done. It's already taken care
So
of.
the cemetery down in San Antonio, right? Is that where you said you were going back to San
Mm-hmm.
Antonio? So they are already aware that they're going to get Gunny.
Yeah,
So they're going,
yeah,
hopefully Gunny will
yeah.
live for a long time.
And I love a clean yard. And I love a clean space, and I will have that. By the way, they do maintain all of
Hmm.
that,
That's true.
and
Yep.
that's something that's continuous. If you were to go to a regular cemetery, some of the fees associated with is they take some of those fees and pay for those maintaining of those cemeteries. So that's an extra cost that you have coming out of your pocket because if you pay so much for the plot and location and so on, added on to that is maintenance expense, so
Hmm.
you pay that much more. However, when you're with the BA and somewhere in the National Cemetery or whatever, that's all inclusive. I mean,
Right.
everything is taken care of, and of course, again, I gave you the cost, no cost, but be prepared to have some sort of cost and
All
stuff
right.
on it and stuff. So, and, we talked about the spouse being buried at the cemetery. Yes, of course, the spouse can be buried at a VA National Cemetery, even if she passes before the veteran does,
Well,
is
he
what I'll
or
tell you.
she.
He or she passed
Yep.
before the veteran died, of course. And eligibility is very simple. You have to, obviously be married with a veteran and stuff. And here's the caveat to this whole thing is that if a spouse marries after the husband passes, which sometimes that happens a lot, after years have gone by, you need another partner or whatever, and you do get married, and but you feel that you want to be buried where your ex-husband or wife was buried at as well. You can still do that
Hmm.
even if you were married. The
If
VA
you're
will allow
remarried,
that to
yep.
happen. Yeah, as long as you were married and you finally pass on and you say, well, I know I got married again. There's restrictions on that, something to the effect that if you get divorced, if it's a divorce process, I guess that's not a qualifying factor there. But that's only if you get remarried and you live, because we have to live our lives. We have to
Yeah. If
continue.
you're if
We
you're
have to move on.
if you've survived your spouse, that was the veteran.
Yeah,
Also, if you are dishonorably discharged, uh, the it does not apply.
yeah.
The
It's got to be
VA.
an honorable, a medical condition, or
Right.
something of that factor. It can't be a dishonorable discharge at all. Sometimes I guess people kind of get into this situation of, well, my husband or my wife or whomever was only a sergeant or was a corporal or a PFC or something of that nature. But understand that rank does not matter in any way, shape, or form to be buried in the national
Well,
cemetery.
that's probably
Rank
one
doesn't
of the
matter.
only times when you're talking military that the rank doesn't matter,
Rank doesn't
is
matter.
when they're
Yeah,
interring you into a plot.
yeah,
One of the other things that I find interesting is, say, your wife doesn't want to be next to you in the same plot. She doesn't have to. She can be buried anywhere else in a VA cemetery.
that's
You don't
true.
have to be side by side.
Yeah.
If you know you're going to spend the afterlife together and decide your burial plot, and you want to make your children have to walk to
Yeah,
visit
that's true.
to visit each grave sites.
Yeah.
You can do that if you want to.
Oh, maybe
You
I
don't
might tell
have
my
to.
wife,
Yeah, you
you
don't
got to
have to
go all the way over
be in
there.
the
That's
same plot.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you know, I guess you'd have to
yeah,
research it. That might even include what if you didn't want to be in the same state,
yeah.
but you're allowed to because they're a spouse of a veteran. They might, what if, say, your wife had family who was um, in another location in Texas, but
mhm.
um, that she wanted to be buried
Or a
with her,
national cemetery in
yeah,
her home
in
state.
yeah, or a national cemetery in her home state.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that
She,
because she's a spouse, a veteran spouse. It didn't say that.
they have to be in the same cemetery. It
Yep.
could be a different. Well, yeah, again, we highly, highly, highly encourage to do research and
Yep.
stuff. And I guess the best way to do that is you could contact any Veterans Administration office, and you could contact the National Cemetery directly,
Mm-hmm.
and you can talk to them. There's always phone numbers. There's always commonly asked questions on the internet and stuff, and they'll give you the answer to it. It's just one of these things to where, as much as we hate to even kind of move into an area like this, it's important that we understand that the idea behind this whole matter of everything that we talked about is to help us improve our quality of life to where we won't have to be at the last minute struggling and suffering and figuring out what our next steps are. And maybe we kind of bring it in a little closer, as much as some of us don't really want to get there to that point. It's not time yet. We don't know when our time is.
Right.
We have no idea. I mean, if we
That
know
is
that,
correct.
then that'd be a different story there. It would definitely be a story there. So, I mean, long story short, that your spouse's rank is irrelevant. It doesn't matter for this benefit. As long as the veteran meets the service requirements of discharge,
Mm-hmm.
that's all you need. It doesn't matter either if the significant other, the spouse of either or, husband or wife, remarries and they decide they want to go back and go to a national cemetery. That could happen as well too. I would always go back and say, the best for right now for most of us, like myself, I did fill out my form 4010007, VA form 4010007. I've already filled mine out. I submitted it. It tells you where to send it to,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes back with a like an authorization. Like, okay, we know you're going to go there, so here it
Right.
is. If all comes to shove and you're not able to make any prior arrangements, or make any kind of arrangements, if you go to your local cemetery, or your what do you call those, uh, burial locations where they have the people go to, funeral homes. If you go to a funeral home,
Mm-hmm.
they can provide you with that information as well too.
Yep.
If you can't get a hold of a Veterans Administration office and stuff, and because they deal a lot with that as well, they can give you the direct. They can to some extent do all of this work for you, but understand that most of this work they'll be doing it right there on the spot when it's already happened. When it, to some extent, you can already know ahead of time what you have, what you've got going for you and stuff.
So
So
what Gunny is trying to tell you is prepare
prepare,
because it
prepare.
is going to happen. So
Yeah, prepare is going to happen now. We wanted to kind of make sure that we brought this up because at the very beginning, when we started these little segments of the, Charles calls it the three-headed beast,
three-headed,
because it is a
it's a
beast.
three-headed monster.
Veterans Administration is huge. Uh, some of us will go to all three areas before we go to this National Cemetery one there. But we will visit in our timeline a little bit of everything. If you're getting your health care at the VA, then that's a first number one. If you're getting any sort of compensation or anything of that nature, money wise, it has to do with money, going to school, grants, compensation for ratings, or any of that matter, or even VA home loans. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have gone through that as well too. So yeah, that's number two. And then, of course, number three, it's inevitable somewhere along the line we're going to do that. And if we're veterans and we're looking at saving some money at the tail end of our life, and we want to make sure that our family is knowledgeable and understands and knows. That would be the best thing to do is to just go in there and I guess I'm going to say that it doesn't really matter how young you are at this point because we don't know.
Right.
We don't know when things are going to happen with this.
You want another plus of being in the VA hospital system?
What's that?
The pamphlets for veterans benefits and cemetery veterans, the National Cemetery. There are pamphlets for it, usually that you can find in any VA hospital.
Yeah,
So if
there
you're
you
in the VA hospital system, you can find the information for your other stuff.
Yeah.
And there are other people. There are people that you can talk to in that VA hospital system that can give you information for your veterans benefits and for the national cemeteries.
Yeah. So in the long run, if you want to prepare, I mean, you can do the pre-need eligibility application. Of course, you can send that in, and get started ahead of time and stuff. If you never even given it a thought, and you wouldn't even know, understand is that these kind of things don't happen when we least expect it. These things happen at a drop of a dime. You never know. And it's good for you. It's good for your families to make sure that you have at least that piece of our lives together, and we know what and how to go forward on that.
Right.
Well, with that being said, we want to remind you once again about what we got coming up.
Well, first, let me throw up our address. Go for Air Veterans Incorporated, P.O. Box 1302, Welcome, North Carolina 27374.
Air Force for you.
And now, what we have coming up, and this is very important.
What we have coming up. Here we go. Third annual gala. It's coming up. We've got 10 days left, maybe.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this not recently on the channels, but we've actually started planning a year ago for this, and the time has come. We're around the corner here. We've got quite a few participants already that are going to be attending. Registration, believe it or not, is still open. So if you're looking at that registration card there, you see that little scan me. QR code there. You can scan that QR code right now as we speak, and you can register. If you happen to have it on your phone and you say, well, I can't scan it because it's on my phone,
push it.
Put your little finger on that little QR code,
pop up.
And wait a few seconds, and then it'll pop up, and the registration form will be right there, and you can go ahead and register at that manner. We did already order the food. Anybody who registers probably in the next day or so may end up having a box of pizza or whatever, but the sooner the better. the sooner the better. We're getting excited. We're fine-tuning things that we need to be done. We're looking forward to seeing each and every one of you there that are registered to attend, and we can't wait for it. So August the 29th, starting at 5 p.m., Richard Childress Event Center in Welcome, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. That's where we'll be at.
So show up. Like we said, you might live in BFE. Fly on in.
Yeah, fly on in.
Fly on in.
We got some room set aside.
Come visit us. Yeah. Come have a good time. It's going to be a great event.
Yeah,
it has the past two, so we expect this one to be even better than the last two.
Yeah, and we hope to see you all there. And just to tie up loose ends here, Gulf War era veterans from 1990 to present, which are Gulf War era veterans, recognition is due, acknowledgement is due, and believe it or not, we are going to get recognition and acknowledgement on that evening for every single person, service members that served from 1990 till today, even active duty service members as well, because it's not the end of the era yet. So we're putting everybody in together. We welcome Gold Star families as well, both designation, Gold Star families and Gold Star families next of kin as well too. So we welcome you. Sign up. Let's move on and let's talk on the 29th. I'll be looking forward to meeting every one of you.
And he's going to wander. He picks about me talking a lot. Wait till you show up and meet this man, and then find out how much more he can talk than I can. All righty.
Don't believe him.
Love you.
Have a good day.
Have a great one.
Subscribe.
Like. Subscribe.